everybody, take a deep breath in and sleep all the way down, drifting further and further and deeper. Let's give our volunteers a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you feel something tap you on the head, that is goldfish food. You're going to want to swim to the top of the bowl and eat the food. If you feel something tap you on the head, that is delicious goldfish food. You're going to swim to the top and eat the food. Eat the food, 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 eat the food. I have a friend who, and then later, you know, he was at a comedy club, and later he's at a bar, and people from the show came into the bar, and the lady came up to him and was like, I don't think that stuff was real. And he took her hand and said, sleep. And she was just out instantly.
Shut up.
He's got, he has a video of it somewhere too. It's hilarious.
Hey, Chad, thanks for coming on the show. How are you doing, man?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, man, you're an exciting guy. You're really outside the box because you're doing a whole bunch of different stuff that our community, at least the sports world, really hasn't tapped into quite yet. You're doing a bunch of stuff with hypnotherapy and doing just NLP and different stuff with the mind for athletics and performance. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so I perform on stage as a hypnotist and a magician. But in the background, you know, I realized a long time ago that when I started learning about the power of the mind, the power of the subconscious mind, so every person in the world has a brain, and your mind is separated in two parts, conscious and the subconscious. So everybody learns how to work with their conscious mind. Nobody learns how to work with their subconscious mind. Like, they don't talk about it in school. They don't talk about it in college. You don't get a manual on how it works, but that part of your mind is by far the most powerful part of your mind. So most people are just go through their whole life never having a clue that you can actually mold the way that you think, you know. And in sports and athletics, that's huge. And overcoming fears, that's huge, because all of your habits and everything live in your subconscious mind. You know, what you think consciously is very weak compared to what your subconscious mind is. Who you are is in your subconscious mind. And people don't know how to change that, but you can change it through the power of hypnosis and NLP, but I focus mostly on hypnosis.
And so what is hypnosis to you? I know you can look up at the definitions and they're all changed, but to you, what is it? What does it do?
All right, so this is how I like to explain it to somebody. So let's do a visual. So this is going to be your conscious mind. So let's say your conscious mind is, let's say you walk into a warehouse and it's completely pitch black, but you have a little flashlight. You turn on the flashlight. What you can see in that little ring of light would represent your conscious mind. But everything else that's actually still there, you can't see it, but it's still in that huge factory. That's your subconscious mind. And it's active all the time. But your conscious mind is only what you point that light at.
Well, it's interesting because there's an analogy from Carl Jung in Interpretation of Dreams. He does it with the same exact analogy, but with a lighthouse. I think it made complete sense when I heard that.
Yes. Yeah. I like the lighthouse too. That's cool.
Yeah. It's very interesting because, you know, before I started looking into all the psychology and just reading all the books and stuff like that, and just kind of trying to get my head wrapped around it at some level, you know, you realize, oh my God, I didn't even think about this stuff. I didn't even contemplate it could be an object. As far as I could tell before, you know, when I was a little younger, it was, I felt like I wanted something. I went and I got it. And that's because I consciously thought about it. And then all of a sudden you realize, well, hold on. And I'll give you a really funny example. We were in Vegas one time, and I'm looking, and I literally see this burger on the wall, like an advertisement. And I literally smelled the burger. And I was like, what? And then I remember thinking to myself, and I felt this happen. I felt like a wave wash over me saying, oh, Greg, you're rationalizing. That's not there. And then I could feel it literally move forward and then cover me up and say, oh, yeah, I don't smell it anymore.
Wow.
Little stuff like that starts happening. And then you really think, oh, man, okay, Carl Jung is onto something here.
Yeah. I mean, an example of the power of it is right now, if anyone who's watching this, just imagine that you cut a fresh lemon in half and then you bite into it. So imagine visually doing that. And if your mouth waters, That's your subconscious mind telling you that lemon is real.
I'm thinking about it now.
And it works, right? Now I have to spit.
But it's funny how subconscious. So when you're doing is it hypnotherapy, or what do you call
just hypnosis.
It's hypnosis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm not a therapist,
Right.
I don't view myself as a therapist. I just help people get in touch with their subconscious mind. That's all.
And you do that through hypnosis.
Yeah, through hypnosis.
And how does that work exactly? Let's say someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, I have problems." I don't know what they say. You say, "Okay, I can put you under hypnosis to help you." How does that help them?
All right. So this is the magic of it, in my opinion. So let's say that someone's goal is they want to eat healthy, but they don't. They eat junk food all the time. So in their subconscious mind, so this is this conscious mind over here, subconscious over here. Their subconscious mind, their whole life, they have learned to love junk food. So this is who they are. So consciously they can say, I'm going to start eating healthy. Well, this is more powerful, so it's going to win. So maybe you'll last a day or two over here. We're like, yeah, I'm eating healthy. The next thing you know, you're going to see a bag of Doritos, and this part's going to say, let's just have one. And the next thing you know, you wolf down the whole bag. So what you need to do is not focus on this part of the mind. You have to focus on this part. So there's only a few ways to do that. So the first way is to have a traumatic event. Well, first let me explain why. So this part of your mind is created since you're a child, right? So when you're young, this is very malleable. It can be formed and shaped. That's why you have to be careful what you say around children, because you can change the way they think for the rest of their life. Now, this here is protected. So once you grow up, this becomes who you are. It gets kind of solidified. And an imaginary barrier gets risen. And we call this in hypnosis the critical factor. So basically, this is a wall of protection, because you don't want this to be easy to manipulate. In other words, if there was no protective barrier, every time you'd see a billboard with a burger, this would tell you, you need to get a burger now. And every time you see a commercial for a new car, you'd be like, I have to go buy the new car. So this needs to be protected. Otherwise, everything would influence us too much. So you get this barrier comes up, once you're a little bit older, this becomes who you are, this goes up. So all your habits you created when you're young, they stay, because now you have this barrier. So the only way to make change over here is to get an idea or a thought from your conscious mind through the barrier into this part of your mind, the subconscious mind. So the first way to do that is to have a traumatic event or traumatic experience, like a car crash. So when someone is scared, like a haunted house, someone jumps out and goes, this goes down temporarily. So let's say somebody gets in a car crash. When that happens, this goes down. You get in the accident, and now this goes back up. After the accident, you are now scared to death of driving. You've just put a phobia in here, and it's not going to leave until you work to get it out, right? And this isn't just with car crashes. This can be anything, little things, the fear of spiders, the fear of heights, whatever it is. You have one bad experience, this goes down, the bad idea goes in, this goes back up. Now that's stuck. So to change it, you don't want to do another traumatic experience, because, you might hurt yourself. So there's other ways. The other ways are, you've heard of affirmations, where somebody, people saying, I think I can, or, I feel good, I feel great, I feel wonderful, and repeating it over and over. So affirmations work, but they take a lot of time. So what's happening there is you're consciously saying this affirmation. I have great balance on the trampoline. I have great balance on the trampoline. You're saying that over and over. Eventually, some of that's going to seep through, right? Some of these are going to go through every once in a while. The barrier's still there, but if you do it enough, it's going to leak through. Over time, you can create that change over here. Hypnosis, however, has the advantage of putting your mind in a state where this gets lowered automatically. Then you take the affirmations, which we turn into hypnotic language or hypnotic suggestions. You reprogram this part of the mind then you raise the critical factor up and the change can become permanent.
So you can control the let's call it the bridge between the conscious subconscious, because like when you're talking bridge, it sounds to me like it's the prefrontal cortex. It's that part, the the CEO of the brain, or whatever they want to call it, the function. So that's there telling you every day. But then what happens is you're basically saying, look, I can manipulate this, and I know that this side is really the driving force, and then you rationalize it after with the cortex, right? But you can actually say that, well, look, in a certain circumstances, hypnosis, I can lower that bridge or make it back up. I can control that in different ways so that I can send signals back and forth, so that then therefore I can change your behavior one way or another for hopefully a better outcome.
Correct.
That is really, really cool. And so can anyone be hypnotized? Is it just, can you do it over like Skype? I kind of feel already a little hypnotic.
You're getting very hungry.
Oh man, I am. I have steaks actually. I am going to be cooking.
Oh, that sounds good. But yeah, anybody can. The thing is, like when I do hypnosis, I work a lot on cruise ships. So if I do a show on a ship, I'll bring up like 20 volunteers from the audience, and I'll try to hypnotize all of them. But by the end, I usually end up with 8 to 10, and the rest I'll send back because they didn't get deep enough. You know, when you're doing hypnosis on stage, you have to do it very quickly because you're trying to use it as entertainment. So if I had enough time, most likely you would be able to hypnotize all 20 people. So everybody can be hypnotized. In fact, everybody is hypnotized every single day. So, because hypnosis isn't like, because people think of hypnosis as some sort of like black magic or voodoo, or, you know, like a ninja mind control. And I wish it was that, but it's not. It's actually just a state of mind that we go in and out of all day long. So anytime you see somebody who looks like they're just daydreaming or zoned out, they're in a trance. They're in a light state of hypnosis. So it happens. Some scientists say it happens up to 1,000 times per day for everybody.
I know. I'm always daydreaming. I'm always kind of just thinking, and people are like, Greg, what? Sorry. And I'm already in my. So is that what part, or at least the like you said, the low level hypnosis is just basically, like you said, daydreaming and just thinking internally about stuff?
Yeah, and that's all it feels. I mean, it doesn't feel like, a lot of times you'll hypnotize somebody and they'll say, well, I don't feel hypnotized, but that's because it doesn't feel like anything other than extreme focus. You know,
really?
Here's a good example that I like to use. So if you drive, this happens to a lot of people, and this is called highway hypnosis. But if let's say you drive from A to B and it's somewhere that you drive very often. So that's a conscious drive. You think about, I'm going to drive here to here. But if you get thinking about something else, like a conversation you had earlier, or what you're going to make for dinner, and you're deep in this thought. Have you ever missed the exit?
Yeah.
And you look up and you're like, oh my God, I drove 10 minutes past my exit.
Yep, I've done that.
So that's called highway hypnosis. And the reason that happens is, so the job of your subconscious mind is to keep you alive. I mean, it's what makes your heart beat. You know, you blink your eyes, it does everything internally. But it also knows that if you're driving and you're consciously not focusing on driving, you're thinking about something else, it'll kick in and take over driving the car. So you're basically, your subconscious mind is driving because it knows your conscious mind is busy.
It's on autopilot.
On autopilot. It knows how to drive the car. What it doesn't know is where you want to go, because that's the conscious thought. So it'll just keep driving. But if somebody in front of you slows down, you slow down, you're not thinking about it, you just do it.
Unless they do it really fast, and then all of a sudden you snap out of, subconscious land to now, immediate alert land, whatever you want to call that. And then now you're back out of the hypnosis. But then as soon as they get back on track, you're now, okay, daydream again, grab your coffee, you're back now to your automated ways without thinking about it. And
that happens every time I see a cop when I'm driving. You're zoned and you see a cop and you're like, oh my God, how fast am I going?
They check the speedometer and all of a sudden, hey, everyone's got their seatbelts on. And
what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Yeah.
It's funny how you assume that when you think about cops, you always assume something's wrong.
Yeah.
But okay, so now you have the hypnosis. So you're saying that everyone kind of goes in and out of hypnosis all the time. But then
Yeah.
when you see it on TV, and I'm sure you get this a lot, and it makes it like some kind of voodoo magic, like you said,
Yeah.
is that even real, or is that just really just far-fetched, or is there something else when you get to that depth?
Now, it basically, what the stuff you see on TV, they're showing it as mind control because, gosh, how cool would that be? You know, if you could hypnotize somebody, they don't even know you're doing it, and then you can just say, "Hey, now give me your wallet," and they're like, "Here you go," you know. But it doesn't actually work like that. It's more, that's more just for theatrical. They try to make it like, you know, the old school where they're like doing this and the
They
girl
kind
just,
of the swinging pendulum thing.
yeah. And the swinging pendulum is real. But all that is, I could take my phone and just say, I want you to look at my phone and follow it with your eyes. All that's doing is giving you something to focus on rather than looking around the room. Because a big part of getting hypnotized is I need your focus on what I'm saying.
How do you get them? Like, so can you walk me through a quick process, like a brand new person coming in, and I'm looking, I have some subconscious problems or things things just aren't going well for me. I'm assuming these are the kind of people you're working with. And then
Yeah.
I'm looking to you to say, can you at least dig around through my mind a bit to maybe there's something I can't pay attention to because I'm too close to it. You can't see the forest through the trees kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I come to you, and then what do you do? Well, how's this process go?
It would begin just by relaxing you physically. So deep breathing.
Okay, deep breathing, lying down.
So you can lie down or you can sit down. The risk of lying down is you might actually fall asleep, which we don't want, right? I mean, which is fine if you fall asleep, but it's easier because when you're hypnotized, you're not asleep.
Okay,
You're actually
you're
awake.
focused on something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when a hypnotist says sleep, and the people go like this, they're not actually asleep. It's totally different brain waves going on at that moment than real sleep.
Okay. We'll get back.
So yeah. So you'd be breathing, and then I would take you through a physical relaxation process. So I would say, I want you to focus on your right arm, and I want you to just switch that off. Make sure that every single muscle is completely loose, limp, and relaxed.
Okay.
Right. And I take, it's like a wave. I'm taking a whole wave of your whole body so that, because a lot of people will think they're relaxed, but they'll be doing this. And you say, I want you to consciously relax your shoulders. And then you see them go, oh, I didn't, you know what I mean? And they don't realize it.
Well, I'm always naturally, I'm a very tense guy. I have a very stressful sort of job. So I'm always naturally in like this. So you say, okay, because as I was literally, as you were saying, okay, I'm like, I'm doing it. And I relax this arm, but the shoulder definitely didn't go down at all. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm the same way. I'll be eating dinner a lot and I'll be thinking, am I relaxed? And I'll go, oh my gosh, I'm totally like this. So, and then you get back pain. So it's good to relax.
That's true. That's true. Okay. So you relax the body. Do you go through the whole body or just certain parts?
I go through the whole body.
Okay.
You know, I'll go by your right arm, moving up through your shoulders, across your chest, down your back, up your neck. You know, I don't go through like each finger, but it'll be your left hand.
Okay.
And then I'll say, now I want you to focus all of your attention on just your left hand. So what you're doing then is you're controlling that flashlight. You're controlling where their focus goes.
Okay.
So that's all you want them to be thinking about at that time. The next part is you start to relax them mentally, right? So once they're physically relaxed, and I usually do this to music. So the music is kind of like a Zen type of, you know, Zen garden, super
yoga.
Like you're getting them yoga or a massage.
Yeah.
So you relax them there, and then you start to relax their mind. So you're telling them, just only focus on my voice, clear any thoughts. If a thought jumps into your head, that's fine, but just dismiss it and try to move forward. It's similar to meditation at this point.
Okay.
Right. So you're trying just to be without any thoughts at all. Right. Yeah, just be present. And then you're going to start to deepen the trance. So once they're relaxed, you're going to start counting. So you do a countdown. For example, I'll say I'm going to start counting backwards from 10. And with each and every number that I say, you're going to feel twice as relaxed. You know, just feel your body getting even more and more relaxed. And at this point, I will have had their eyes closed. And you'll see, if you watch some of the videos, as you're going through these steps, people just start to I mean, on stage, people will actually at this point fall out of their chair onto the floor, and I, you know, they're not even completely hypnotized yet as far as the sequence goes, but that's all you need once they're that point.
Okay, so you relax the body first to get them to understand, because I feel like it's easy for me to understand relax the body. When you say relax your, I don't know, your amygdala for a quick second, I'll be like,
Yeah.
what? How do I even imagine what that even means? You know,
Yeah.
so you start with the external thing that people can understand a little bit. Then you say, okay, well, we're basically going to now recreate that in the mind. And then you count them down because they're anticipating it. I'm going to guess there's a bit of anticipatory, so I don't know the word, sort of concept there, where then are they getting there? Like they're trying to get to 1, or are they out? Like you're trying to slow them down, or you want them to get to 0 and then be?
I want them to get down. But if they don't, that's fine too.
Okay.
But because I say when I get to 1, not yet, but when I get to 1, you're going to sink down 10 times deeper. You're going to be completely relaxed. All thoughts will be completely pushed from your mind, and you'll only focus on what I'm saying. So once I get them to that point.
How long does it take, sorry to interrupt, how long does it take to get to that point for an average person?
Probably, it can be done very quickly. Like there's a thing called street hypnosis, you know, where a friend of mine and I went in South Beach in Miami and taught a course on street hypnosis. And we would go up to strangers and talk to them for a couple of minutes to tell them what we're going to do. And then just boom, sleep, and they're out. However, that's not how I like to do it. I like to make it more of a relaxing experience. So I usually take 15 to 20 minutes to get someone where I want them to be. So when I do it on stage, you know, I bring up a bunch of people, and it's a whole process. I go through the whole process. You can skip these processes. It'll still work. But I just feel like you're going to get a better result if you take it through the whole stages.
Okay. All right. So it's 20 minutes, a half an hour or so. I'm doing the relaxed slow version. You got me down to 1 or 0.
Yeah.
What's next?
Now I'm going to give you basically a command, and I'm going to say that, you know, from this moment forward, I just want you to focus on every word that I say, and I want you to understand that each and every word that I say will be real to you. And then I'll say, nod your head if that's okay with you. So you're going to say, yeah, it's okay. Because if someone's thinking no, then they can say no. Right?
What do you mean real? What do you mean?
Everything that I'm about to say to you will feel and be real. Will become your reality. So in a stage setting, in a moment, I might say, excuse me, I might say, in a moment, I'm going to count to 3. When I count to 3, you're going to open your eyes and everything will be just fine. However, you're going to find that your right arm is completely stuck to your shoulder. The harder you try to remove it, the more it's going to stick. The more it sticks, the harder you try to remove it. You know, and I'm saying it's not going to hurt or anything, but you're going to find it's very strange. And then I could say you're going to find that it's hilarious. In fact, the more you try, the more it sticks, the more you're going to start to laugh. And to the point that you're laughing so hard that you can't even control it anymore. And then and at this point, they're just like this. And then you say 1, 2, and 3, open your eyes. And then now they're here. And you say, how you doing? I'll go to shake their hand, and they'll just be like, you know, and then they'll start to laughing, and they're like, and I'm like, what's wrong? And they're like, I don't know. My arm is stuck. I don't know. And the weirdest thing is, it seems like they could just be acting. But there's so many times when I have people come to my show, like when I'm in a theater, and I'll have a guy come up to me and say, I don't believe in hypnosis. I don't think you can hypnotize me, but I want to try it. And their whole family's there going, yeah, you're never going to hypnotize him. And those guys end up being the stars of the show. I'm telling you that, because at the end, they're just like, they can't believe that it happened to them, you know?
That's crazy. Like I could never imagine actually being like out. Like 2 parts of that actually really astound me. One is that you would do it without knowing it. That's one. Yeah. And then you would do it by snapping your fingers, and it's that quick. What's
Yeah.
the snapping of the fingers doing? How does that change the dynamics? What if you didn't snap your fingers?
I could tell them that I'm not going to snap my fingers. Just when I count to 3, you're going to open your eyes. It's just a part of the snapping of the fingers, I think, is just showmanship. Because when you're on stage, people like to see the moment that it happens, right? So it's similar to if you're doing a magic trick. If I'm doing a magic trick and I take a coin and I make it disappear, in magic, you can't just take the coin and then now it's gone. You have to take the coin and you have to have the magic moment, which is like because then people go, oh, he blew on it. That's why it disappeared, which doesn't make any sense. But psychologically to them, they need a reason for that. So in hypnosis, the snap, they say, oh, the snap has some kind of power to it.
But you could do theoretically anything. You could flick them in the forehead and say, when I flick you in the forehead, bang, you're going to be this way.
Yeah, that I do a way. I do a thing where I say, I pick up like a little kid's gun. It's like a space gun, like, and it makes sounds like, like boo, 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 boo. And I tell them, this is not this is a toy gun, but it has a special setting. And you're going to find in a moment that if I shoot you, with this gun, it's actually a tickle gun. And it's going to tickle you all over. Anytime I point it at you, it's going to tickle you, and you won't know what to do. So you turn it on and you go, and everybody's like, oh my God, oh my God. And then the next thing you say is there's another setting that puts you to sleep. So if I shoot you with this, you'll instantly fall asleep. And I think there's a video of me doing this where I'm just miming it with a machine gun. And I just go, and you see a row of 10 people. As you hit them, just go, all falling down all different ways, and they're out.
Okay, but what's happening in the brain then? Like, I don't understand how. If you told me, Greg, right now, boom, you're gonna fall down on this couch and falling asleep. I could never imagine that I'd ever believe that would happen. So
I know.
what's happening in the mind though when these people? Is it just because you've got them into an environment that basically control?
No, part of it is, once you're in the hypnotic, once you're in a trance, when I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking directly to your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind, because I told it this, will believe that everything I say is real. It doesn't know to say, that doesn't make sense. It
you
just
shut down that part.
You shut down consciously. I mean, you're still aware consciously. You're still conscious, but your reality is what's in your subconscious mind in this side. So I'm changing your reality at this point. I can do whatever I want. I can make you feel like you're freezing cold. I can make you feel like it's 110 degrees, and you'll start to sweat. I can tell you that you will feel no pain. I mean, they use this for surgery, and they use it for childbirth. They'll hypnotize a woman and say, you feel no pain. And they'll deliver a baby, no pain.
Really?
Because they believe there's no pain.
Oh man, that sounds like any woman would sign up for that immediately.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people are afraid. Like, they're thinking, what if it doesn't work?
Well, it can't get worse, can it? So it's
true. Yeah, that's true.
Like, just give me anything that you think will work. Give me all the whatever drugs. Give me the hypnotherapist guy. Give me this,
right.
That. I would do that. I never knew you could do that.
Yeah.
So
here's a cool thing about a study that was done, and I think I wrote a blog about this with all the details, because I can't remember who wrote this, but they did a study where they hook up all the electrodes to the brain so they can see what parts of your brain become active. And they would have a person actually do something. Let's say they have them take a sip of coffee. Just take a sip of coffee. They do it. They would see what part of the brain lights up when you actually do the activity. So let's say it's over here. I'm just making this up. I don't remember where, but say it's here. Then they would have the same person. Now I want you to just imagine picking up the cup and taking a sip. Well, now a different part of the brain lights up because they have to create this now. So it's their imagination lights up. But when someone was hypnotized and they said, I'm handing you a cup of coffee, I want you to take a drink from the coffee. There's no cup though, right? And they go and do this side lights up as though they're really doing it.
Oh, so you can actually see this in real life. This isn't just some hocus pocus stuff that just is more like theoretical. This is legitimately measured.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's crazy to me. Like, so basically, if you take someone into hypnosis and take them through a situation, their subconscious mind can't tell the difference between really doing something and or imagining it. It believes under hypnosis, it believes that what you're telling it actually is happening.
That is okay. I get it. That's really cool. I think you clarified hypnosis really well there. Have no idea what it was until this conversation, and I'd seen all the stuff. I'm just like the regular, I don't know what you call them, the people that don't know anything. They just think it's cool when they see people on stage falling down laughing.
Yeah.
I feel like I understand though. There's definitely a lot more to it. And I
Yeah.
guess my question becomes, being an athletic kind of guy myself, there's a lot of sort of poo-poo, let's just say, online about how to deal with fears and mental blocks and stuff like that. Is there a way to then take hypnosis like you could for childbearing and then put it into an athletic setting? Have you ever tried to do that or thought about it?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I wrote down, these are just a few. Well, here, first I'll explain it this way. So when you're talking about the higher level of athleticism, everybody at the higher levels is already physically gifted, or they wouldn't be there. So at the highest level, what separates one guy from the other guy or one girl from the other girl is what's in their mind, right? So there's a guy, I wrote this down. So Dick Fosbury, this is a quote from him. He was a famous Olympic high jumper. But he wrote, when you reach that elite level, 90% is mental and only 10% is physical. At this point, you're competing against yourself, not against other athletes. And so having that being said, here's a list that I pulled up of professional athletes who actually use hypnosis to get an edge, right? So you should appreciate the first one, I'm guessing, Wayne Gretzky.
Oh, I love Wayne Gretzky.
Sidney Crosby uses hypnosis.
Really? He was good.
Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Muhammad Ali, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, the entire Pittsburgh Steelers football team, the entire Toronto Maple Leafs team. And then, there's a huge list of people who I didn't know who they were, but there's like hundreds who use hypnosis to get that edge.
I had no idea. It's like
Yeah.
it's like the therapy that no one heard about really in some sense, or at least not mainstream yet. But
Right.
that is so cool. Okay, so how do they use it? Like, what is the plan? Every week you come in and you go through the process you explained, or is there something a little more specific for athletes?
I don't know exactly what they're using, because it's different. It's going to be different for every person. So like I've had a lot of people use some of the generic, like more generic stuff that I have available. For example, just to sleep better as an athlete is important. So I have one just for sleep. That's generic. One to reduce stress, one to boost overall confidence, one to get rid of pain. So those are just generic. But then some people, if they have a specific goal, like our friend from Iraq, he asked me, he specifically wanted to work on his balance while jumping, because he had an injury and he had to get out of it for a while. So when he got back, he wanted to make sure he was jumping as high as possible and and be aware of his balance at all times. So I worked with him to look at, so we look at what affirmations would that be? What would you be saying to yourself to get to that point? Because I don't do trampoline, so I have to have those people tell me what would work for them. So he gave me a list of like 5 or 6 phrases, and you have to put it in hypnotic language or positive talk, which means you wouldn't want to say, you would want to say, I have perfect balance when I jump. You wouldn't want to say, I'm never off balance when I jump, because your subconscious mind doesn't understand negatives. So if you say under hypnosis, I'm never off balance when I jump, all your mind would hear is, never balanced. So it have the opposite effect.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I took what he gave me, turned them into positive affirmations, and then turned those into hypnotic suggestions. And then I create an entire recording. So it's like, I think it's about a 30-minute session. So it takes them through the body relaxation, the mental relaxation, deepening the trance. Once the subconscious mind is open, I would give him those affirmations, those suggestions repeatedly, and saying it, each time a little bit differently. And then we wake him up and we bring up the wall. And he told me that it's working. He said he's having good success with it. So you might want to ask him, because I don't know too much about, jumping. So
Well, no,
ask him.
Yeah, well, he reached out to me asking about it, and that's how we got connected and everything. And for me, I never even thought about it ever, So I was like, okay, that's interesting, And I'm coming from more of an experienced trampoline background than he is. I would be saying, okay, so my first question would be that if I'm a coach and I have an athlete that's like that, with lots of coaches and athletes like that, could I basically make a recording myself and just give it to the athlete that they listen to before they go to bed or whenever in the morning or something like that? Could that work by doing that?
Yeah, you would just need to have a script to take them through all the steps.
Okay, but I can pre-record it. Like I can record it and then send it off to people. And say, here's my team, guys. Make sure you do this for the next couple months. It's off season, and we want to get our minds back in shape. So here's a recording, and it could be anyone's voice. Does it have to be? It just has to be in the right language, like you said.
You have to use the right hypnotic language, and you just want your voice to be soothing.
Okay, and so it's got to sound relaxed, like you're trying, not just yelling at somebody.
Yeah,
Okay, so that is a viable option. And then what if then I said, okay, well, for the extreme cases, for the people that just doesn't work because they can't force themselves to just focus on the recording, then I would say, let them talk to Chad once a week or something like that for half an hour, at least over the phone. Is that better? Or would they have to come and see you?
No, we would probably do it over online, like a session like we're doing now.
Okay. All right. And then you would talk to them and you basically do the same thing the recording is doing, but hoping that I'd be a little bit more focused because you're right there present.
Yeah. But I almost feel like, at least for me, it's better. It's more relaxing to be alone, put your headphones in and just have to listen and just space out. If I'm doing it like this, I feel like it's more distracting.
Well, is that right? And you just plow through because too bad you have 80 years on this planet, and if you're weak, you're going to die anyway? Or do you lower the bridge, or do you do a bit of both? What seems to be a better thing from your perspective?
I would say balance, a little bit of both.
Yeah. Because I don't see how you're just going to tell yourself to not be scared of something. I don't think the brain works that way.
Yeah.
It would be nice if it would, but then wouldn't that say, hey, just stick to your diet? Hey, don't go, get in trouble over there. Hey, because if you can just talk yourself into doing something that easy, then none of the problems in the world would really exist theoretically if it was just that easy.
Yeah. I mean, like I have a lot of clients, not clients, but people who have purchased I have a hypnosis recording for quitting smoking. And I get emails from people all the time saying, I've tried everything, cold turkey, everything. And this was the first time they were actually able to quit and not go back to it. And this was easy. All they had to do is sit and listen to something.
And what is that? What made them make that successful? Is it just because it was a slow approach and it spoke to the right part of the brain?
I think that's what it is. Yeah. They decide. I mean, a lot of it has to do with wanting the end result. Because, some people say, well, my uncle smokes. Can I just send him that recording? And I'm like, yeah, if he wants to quit. If he doesn't want to quit, it's not going to work.
Well, that's a good point you bring up there, because a lot of people run around this planet, saying, well, because I consciously am deciding to go to school or go to work or whatever it is, then therefore that's where it all comes from. They don't realize that's after the fact, and that it's the want that really is the thing that you have to figure out. You'll say, oh, well, I don't want to quit smoking because, or I want to quit smoking because it's bad for my lungs, obviously. But then the reality though is that it somehow soothes a problem that you actually haven't solved. So in reality, you don't actually want to stop smoking because it still solves some problem. It's not really the best way to solve it in an external perspective, but subconsciously your brain's saying, yeah, well, I'd rather have a smoke that distracts me from this or whatever the case is. So in reality, I don't want to stop smoking. I just don't want to be judged by everyone else here. So you're having a conflict.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and that to me seems it's all about the want. And we have a group of athletes that they're all these freestyle guys. They don't want traditional coaching. And the coaches, I think, have made the exact same mistake. The traditional ones, or not all of them, there's a lot of good traditional ones, but there's, those hardcore purists, obviously. And they make the mistake by thinking that, oh, if I just tell the athlete to be safer and come into my gym and do what I tell them to do, they'll all of a sudden not need to do this freestyle stuff on their own. And they're right. There is more risk, but they're totally incorrect because they don't realize they're speaking to the wrong part of the brain. They don't understand that it's the want and the motivation for doing what they're doing on their own terms really comes from back here in subconscious. So to give a conscious rationalization to an unconscious motivation, you're already starting off completely in the wrong direction.
Yeah. It's all about the why.
It is. It really is. And I think that's what a lot of people I've spoken to some mental strength coaches and stuff like that. And some of them have said things like, well, yeah, like you just got to push on through. Right? Others say, well, no, you've had a trauma, therefore the brain is fragile, so you need to work it slowly, like any kind of physical rehab. Right? I'm like, okay. You got people in the middle, and the problem to me says that there's certain research on both sides here showing that both work. So what is the actual answer? And I'm not asking for the answer, but this is a question in my mind. Like, well, do you just push on through, or is it a case by case basis? And it's tough for coaches to understand when to go hard, when not to.
Yeah.
But I guess I'll ask now is, when you're thinking about trying to get past a mental block of some kind, and you're going to use hypnosis, how long would you guess, based on your experience, that it would take to see measurable effects?
That's going to vary from person to person. So there are people who can listen to a recording once and be like, okay, that's all I needed. But I always tell people, I would listen to it every single day for at least 21 days and just make sure that it's, takes 21 days to create a habit, they say, or they used to say. So I would tell them as long as it takes, and then maybe a little bit longer just to make sure.
Okay. So
for some people it's quick. Some people it takes more time. Okay.
So is it just based on severity of like how bad that trauma was for you, or is it based on?
I think it's based on that, and also how focused the person can be during the sessions.
Okay. All that focus.
Yeah.
Now, I like to listen to music before and after training for an hour, roughly, because that's how long it takes me to drive to my training. Back when I was training, but even now, with the whole business stuff. Is that a form of hypnotherapy?
Yeah, that's like to me, that's like I'm similar when I perform. I have like my pre-show rituals. So I'll put on a certain playlist. I do everything the same. It becomes ritualistic to get in the mental zone of performing. So yeah, I do think that's a form of hypnosis.
Okay, because I thought so, because I've done that ever since I was a kid, and I never really thought about it until someone came up to me a while back and said, yeah, well, I'm trying to get into a rhythm, and I watch videos instead of music. I do music because I can't watch a video while I'm driving to wherever.
What do you like to listen to?
I like to listen to always motivational stuff. It's really funny. Oh, cool. In the business with all of our partners, it's always like, hey, what do you guys want to listen to? Something upbeat and motivational. And it's literally the same answer all the time, because I want to live in a motivated state. I will literally listen to some kind of sad song that's a nice song, but sad about things not working out. Like I listen to the radio, I want to kill myself because it's always love broken this, and my girlfriend doesn't love me here, and mommy and daddy issues there. I'm like, oh God, get this away from me.
Yeah.
You know, and so I live on, like what you said, on this playlist that's maybe 100 songs long, but I would just over and over, because I'm not even listening to the music. And this is why I was asking if this is hypnosis, is I put the music on, but I'm not listening. I'm now daydreaming about some another goal that I'm trying to accomplish or something. So is that doing the thing?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's really that simple. So I can listen to a self-soothing voice, whether it's myself or somebody. Yeah, that's a good question. Could you do it to yourself?
Yeah, I believe that you can. In fact, I do a version of it where I usually use it if I'm trying to solve a problem. So, you know, and you have like some big problem, you can't figure out the solution. I have a system. I have if you guys want to check it out if you go to my website, that's mentalupgrades.com, I wrote a book that's called How to Predict the Future by Creating It Yourself. But I have a chapter in there on this process, and it's on how to activate your intuition at will. And it's similar to what you're talking about. But so my process is, you think about the problem until you can't think about it anymore. You just think about it, like, you know, you can't solve it. You're trying. Then you take a break from that, and you think about something completely different. And then when you lay down to go to sleep at night, you think about it as much as you can until you fall asleep. And then when you fall asleep, your subconscious mind takes over. And it will solve the problem for you way faster than your conscious mind. I mean, have you had that happen in a dream? You figure, even with trampoline. I mean, I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So I'll fall asleep trying to figure out a technique that I had trouble with, you know, over and over, and I can't figure it out. Like, why isn't that working for me? And I'll use this process for that. And then in your dream, you'll solve it. And all of a sudden, the next time you go to train, you're like, yeah, I got this now. And it's because your subconscious mind was working it out. But in the book, I talk about how do you purposely activate that. And that's basically what you're doing when you're driving and you start going into that deep focus.
Yeah, and I've done that ever since, honestly, I could remember. Every single training, I just have my headphones on, and I'm just thinking, I'm planning my training, what I want to accomplish. And at the end, I'm looking at the videos of what I did and thinking about how I could make them better and all that. Yeah. And like what you're saying, there's literally every week, at least once a week, I wake up and have some kind of business problem I got to solve, or some kind of, trampoline related thing or whatever it is, something that I just don't understand. And I literally solve it. And I'm dreaming about solving it. And I literally can remember the dream. And then I remember waking up, and oh yeah. And then I write it down. And then I sleep like a bear afterwards, because all of a sudden everything's just, oh, okay, we're good. And I solved it.
Have you ever not written it down? And then later you're like, I know I solved it, but I can't remember what it was, and I didn't write it down. I've had that happen.
Yeah, I did that the first time, and then I started writing it down.
Yeah. I've written stuff down too, in the dark, and then in the morning I wake up and I can't read my handwriting, and I'm like, I know this is something important, but I don't know what it says.
Well, now we live on computers, so I don't even have a notepad anymore. I just type it into email, and I email it to myself, so that when I wake up the next day, oh right, I've remembered that I solved this during my sleep. Yeah,
I'll leave myself a voice memo too sometimes.
Yeah, I do that all the time. My whole phone is full of just random voice memos of random stuff, just in case it, sparks some kind of thought process.
Yeah.
But so that's what hypnotherapy, hypnotism, and all that sort of stuff is. It's basically finding a way to get your brain into a motivated state where you're listening to the real motivation, not the pretend motivation that might be there for other people's benefits more than your own, and you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
That is very, very cool. Now, do people remember when they wake up from their hypnosis?
Yeah, they do. There's a trick you can do that I'll do sometimes on stage, where if I tell you that you're not going to remember anything that happened to you, I'll say that you're going to remember that you came up here and it didn't work, you never got hypnotized. But the moment after the show, I'll be standing in the back, like de-greeting the audience, like shaking hands. And I'll say, the moment you shake my hand, the moment you touch my hand, everything will come back and you'll remember everything that you just did on stage. And then I put them back to sleep, and I tell the audience, I said, if you have a family member up here, have your camera on their face when they shake my hand, because you'll see a light turn on. You know, you'll see that you'll see the memory come back. And it's cool, because so they shake my hand and you just see them just go, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, and they get embarrassed, but they love it, you know. It's really cool. But if I don't tell you that you're not going to remember it, then yeah, you'll remember it.
So you have to, you literally you become like the handler for their subconscious mind during that process.
Yeah.
And it can last, how long could it last? Can you have someone hypnotized for 5 years and say, yeah, in year number 5, I'm going to come to your house and then shake your hand? Would it last that long? Is there a time?
I haven't tested that out. I have seen it happen where, you know, usually when if I'm doing this on stage, when I send the people back, I said, once you leave the theater tonight, all suggestions will be gone, right? Everything will be back to normal. But I have a friend who wouldn't do that. And then later, you know, he was at a comedy club, and later he's at a bar, and people from the show came into the bar, and the lady came up to him and was like, I don't think that stuff was real. And he took her hand and said, sleep. And she was just out instantly.
Shut up.
He's got, he has a video of it somewhere too. It's hilarious. I have to figure out where it is, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh man, that would be so cool. Just like, yeah, how long can it last? Because I guess it's as long as it lives in the back of the mind, right? As long as that's the part you're talking to, as long as you are a live, functioning human being,
yeah,
then theoretically it should, you know?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that cause like a legal issue? Like, I think you're a smart guy for having that little disclaimer at the end, you know, because God knows, like, what happens if something happens and then there was a misstep on your part for whatever reason, and they leave the show and, you know, something clicks, whatever that thing is, they see a billboard or whatever, and then all of a sudden they start doing some really dumb stuff. Could that go back to you?
It could potentially. That's why a professional, someone who's been trained by a professional, will make sure at the end of their program to tell everybody all suggestions are removed, you know. So you'll be wide awake. If you hear this noise anymore, you're not gonna, you know, start barking like a dog or anything like that.
Well, yeah, I could just start seeing, I could start even seeing, like, in our like gymnastics acrobatic world, the prices of insurance just keeps going up because people mishandle it and don't really use it properly. And I think that's kind of the case with a lot of places, not just our industry. Yeah. But if I could totally see someone leaving saying, you know what, I had an accident. I'll just say I went to the hypnotist guy's show and that's why I crashed the car. I could see some people legitimately trying to make a claim somehow with that.
Yeah, that's stage hypnotists carry a hefty amount of insurance because of that. But I mean, I've never had an issue. I don't know anyone who has. I did read an article once about somebody tried to blame a hypnotist for, you know, they fell asleep while driving. But when it went to court, they didn't blame the hypnotist, because he had a video of it saying, no, that's not.
Okay, well, that's good.
It doesn't work that way, you know.
Okay,
if you tell them, yeah.
Okay. So could you get someone that's on stage? You have 2 people on stage. Could you get one to actually hypnotize the other?
Yeah, I'm sure you could. I'd have to think about the logistics of doing that, but I'm sure you could. Yeah.
Well, because the science seems to probably be the same, right? As long as the one person, because you could hypnotize them to the point where you say, I'm going to hypnotize you, and the count of 3, you're going to repeat everything that I say to this person, and therefore, now, and you make it like a hypno chain.
Yeah, I'm sure you could.
Now, here's okay. If you want to really go paradoxical, could you then get them to do that, to then hypnotize you?
Oh, wow. I think that's how you create a black hole in the universe.
poof, everything gets sucked in. Because that was the thing. Like, then where did the actual hypnosis start and end?
Yeah.
There's one to think about. You could try to do that for your next show.
It'd probably be like the telephone game, though, where I tell the first person to relax, and by the time it gets back to me, they're going to be like, "Eat chicken," or something.
Yeah, I guess it would have to be all perfect. But so could you? But when you're telling them, like, you can tell them to say things, right?
Oh yeah.
And they will be exact, or do they always mumble it and mess it up?
Some people do it exact, because I'll do a thing where this is just a comedy bit, but you tell one person anytime I say the word hypnosis, you're gonna stand up and yell, "Hypnosis is fake," and then you'll sit right back down and you'll have no idea why you did that. But then I'll tell another person, anytime you see someone else stand up and yell, you're gonna be the police and you're gonna stand up and you're gonna tell them to sit down. So you have this whole chain reaction going off. Just me saying the word hypnosis, this person stands up, this person yells at them, then you can have this person react this way. But the phrase you told them to say will be something similar. They won't always do it exact.
Okay, so you'd only have a limited amount of success with hypnosis telephone tag.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
That's cool. I still think you should try it. I would totally love to try that.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever been done before. That would be cool.
That would be cool. And okay, so can you be under hypnosis while you're doing an athletic performance?
In essence, yes. So when you're performing or competing or even playing a video game where something that you're trying to do is really hard, but then one day you just have it and you're in the zone. That's hypnosis.
That is hypnosis. So that bell curve, that sweet spot, they call it, in the middle of the curve, that is hypnosis already. So
you're performing subconsciously at that point. You don't have to think about what you're doing. You just do it. That's the ultimate level of sports, I would assume. That's where Wayne Gretzky was all the time.
So you can, but now you said he's all the time. Is there too much all the time? Like, is there a point where too much hypnosis, you start living in like some Inception world where just everything gets loopy?
No, because I said all the time, but there were games where he didn't, he had bad games. Everybody does. So.
Okay, but
Sidney Crosby doesn't always score, but you know what I mean?
Okay, but with hypnosis, you can't, can you overdo it? Can you overdose on hypnosis?
I think that if you always walked around in a subconscious state, it might be weird. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like,
I know a lot of people that appeared, they are doing that exact thing.
Well, if somebody is high, like really high, that's how they appear to be. When somebody's just like, whoa, dude. They're not in a very conscious state, so I don't think that's a good state to be in all the time, because you got to make conscious decisions as well.
Well, that's what I'm just, is it, so 50, so like if you did half an hour every day, like you said, and then, but what if somebody did literally 5 hours a day? I don't know, someone else paid for all of their expenses. They had nothing to do besides sit and just be hypnotized. Would it fade away and eventually they just like not even believe themselves, or could it do that?
I think that it almost feels like if someone, I don't have any experience with that, but it seems like you would get to like a state of Zen, you'd be one with your subconscious mind
Forever. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be strange, but could be cool. I don't know that I would want to be in that state all the time.
I was gonna say, it's like depreciating returns, right? Then eventually it doesn't actually affect us. It's almost like like from what I know about human psychology, it's humans really react to differences of something. As soon as you have the same stimulus too long, it automatically just starts to wither away. Like when you're holding your girlfriend or boyfriend's hand or something, after even 5 minutes, you forget, just like the car.
Yeah.
Right. So I would think the hypnosis is the same way. So like if I'm on hypnosis therapy for, let's say, 5 years, is there a chance that eventually I just won't respond to it the same way and I'll get used to it?
No, actually, I think that the more often you get into that state, like a hypnotic state, the easier it becomes for you to get into that state. So there are the people who get hypnotized often. Like when I bring people up on stage, or if I'm doing like a private session, if you ask someone, have you been hypnotized before? If they say, oh yeah, several times, you're like, okay, you don't even need to relax them, because their mind knows how to get to that state. So you just tell them, take a deep breath, sleep, and they'll be out. So you become better at getting hypnotized.
I never thought about that. It's like a muscle almost.
But I don't think it's a state you want to stay in. That's why we put you in it. We do what you want us to do in the subconscious, but then we bring you back to a normal conscious state. So, I mean, most of the time, 99% of the time during the day, you just want to be in a conscious state, unless you're sleeping.
Right.
So the hypnotic part is just to put the thoughts in your subconscious mind so that it reacts consciously. When you're in a conscious state, you get the reactions that you want. The fears aren't triggered like they would have been. You act the right way in an athletic situation. You know what I mean? You consciously, I'm thinking of other sports, like you consciously see the entire ice. You don't look down at the puck, you see everything.
Yeah, I get it.
But you don't have to be in a hypnotic state to do that. Your subconscious mind naturally will do that now when you're in a conscious state, which is what you want.
Oh, so you're saying that at first it's like driving a manual car. You got to learn how to shift the gears around. You got to lower that drawbridge, make the connection, play around, reshuffle the subconscious stuff, then zip them back up again, let them go on their way. And that's the best thing. You don't want to keep unzipping, let's call it, or lowering that bridge too much, or it just causes more issues.
Yeah. You reminded me of Bruce Lee said it's similar to you. He said, before martial arts, a punch is a punch and a kick is a kick. Then you enter martial arts, all of a sudden a punch isn't a punch. You have to stand this way. You have to put this shoulder here. You got to make the fit. It's complicated, right? So that's what you're doing in the subconscious, building this. He goes, but after martial arts, once all this is in place, a punch is just a punch and a kick is just a kick, but much more effective now.
I like that. That's good. That's very good. I think that sums it up perfectly. Exactly. Yeah. And so, okay, so you go in and you meddle around in people's minds, and what are you doing? So let's say I'm hypnotized. Let's say I have a fear of a vault. I landed on my head a year ago, and every time I get to vault, I'm just like, oh, I can't do it. What would you be trying to tell me when I'm in a hypnotic state that somehow change that behavior?
If we're specifically targeting one instance, like when the time that you were injured, I would combine NLP. There's a thing in NLP called the fast phobia cure. So I would combine this with hypnosis. So what we would do is I would put you under the trance. Then I would have you imagine you're sitting in a movie theater and it's empty, but on that screen is you doing the vault where the bad thing happened. So it's not happening
on my head, or like the good
the bad one.
Okay.
But it's not you. It's not happening to you. You're watching it happen to you. Okay. So you're playing this over, then you play it in reverse. Then we switch the screen into black and white. So what we're doing is distancing you from this moment. Then we have you move out of the seat up into the projector's booth. So you're farther away from it. You're seeing this from a distance over and over again, to the point where you see it so many times that you become okay, I get what happened. And now we're going to change the image. We want you to think of a time where you did this perfectly, or a time in your life where you did any vault perfectly. And then we're going to play that. And I have you think about, how did you feel what did it make you feel like the moment you did it perfectly? All right. So then I usually create anchor. So we'll say a word like, perfect vault, and I have you squeeze your fingers together. So perfect vault. For our friend in Iraq, I gave him a trigger that was perfect balance. So anytime he squeezes these fingers and says perfect balance, it's going to trigger his subconscious mind for all the suggestions that we created in that recording. So then it gets even cooler. So then we're having you look at this movie screen. You're back in the theater now, and then you levitate in the air. This is all in your imagination. But now you have this confidence of the time you did it perfectly. And we have you fly into the screen, and now what you are watching is now you. And now you repeat that vault again with complete confidence and nail it. Right?
And play it again and again and again.
Yeah. And then we've attached this anchor. So then when you go back to real life, right before you do it, you just say that anchor, perfect vault, and it gets you into that state of mind where I can do this perfectly.
That is so cool. I never thought about it like that. Now,
yeah.
Would it work instantly, or is it kind of like it would be somewhat perfect? It would be at least better to the point where you're at least running and not just kind of, dialing down a little slowly because you're scared? Or is it an instant sort of reprogramming, or does this take, again, 21 days of
this can be instant, but then it's different for every person. But I've seen it work for other fears and other phobias instantly. Just talking somebody through the process, and then they go, the example I'm thinking of is a guy who's deathly afraid of heights, and we got him, we're doing street hypnosis. We got him to climb up a ladder, like up the side of a building, no problem. And he's like, I haven't done this for years. And all of a sudden he's up there like,
That's crazy. That is so cool. But it brings up a good point. So what about irrational fears? So they'll say landing on your head is rational, that you should be scared of that probably. But what about irrational fears, even in competition? Like I haven't ever landed on my head on this vault, but I saw maybe somebody else do it, or I just kind of had this imagination that I could land on my head because I saw some tabloid in the news saying some girl got injured doing it wherever, Would that still have the benefits of hypnosis, or is that a completely different ballgame?
No, it could still have the benefits. You just have to figure out how you would want to situate the suggestions. So mainly you wouldn't talk about any kind of fear of what you read about. It would just be that you know that you can do this perfectly.
And it's all that positive talk. Like, I hear a lot of coaches, they'll say, oh, I'm a very positive coach, blah, blah, blah. But then, and you'll understand this sentence, wow, Johnny, that was a really good vault. But next time, let's do this. They'll say, oh, well, look, I gave him, as we call cheese, like BF Skinner. I love Skinner. He's my man. But they'll forget the part, like you said, the negative part doesn't get, the butt is really what they'll focus on. And all of a sudden they forget that the comment or the positive, and they'll just jump to the negative, you know. And we have a lot of coaches that think that they're doing that. So is it really like, would you say from your experience that if you were doing regular coaching and then you just trained yourself to switch to just that positive thing, without the buts and the well, yeah, but still, and all those little sneaky ways that we criticize without really thinking about it. The coach, if they just got rid of that, they could be kind of in that, let's say, trance moment throughout training as well, not just in specific moments of focus.
Yeah, I think so. I do think that would be difficult to do, to become that type of a coach, but I think that would be very powerful. Well, somebody could do that.
Yeah, because it's like I caught myself doing it at first before I started reading Skinner, and he'd say something very simple that always stuck with me is, and the 1 Minute Manager and all these other business books even kind of brush upon it. It's just focus on the good, basically. I know it sounds juvenile at that simplistic way, but like you're talking about the music, I just want to be positive. I just want to focus on where I'm going. So when I'm in the gym coaching, every time I interact with the athletes now, I'm thinking Skinner, Skinner, Skinner. Okay, only focus on positive. So a girl doesn't do whatever she's supposed to do. I find the thing that she did do right, and I just focus on that. I don't even mention the thing that wasn't right, and it does take training. Like you said, it's so you never realize until you start really analyzing yourself. You're like, oh man, I'm a negative jerk. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's definitely crazy. All the little things that, coaching is tough. It's a lot more demanding. It's almost like having a kid where people actually expect them to go to Harvard.
Yeah.
So and that's where we have a lot of coaches in our audience that just they're looking for any new technique, and I think you've done an amazing job at really simplifying the whole hypnosis thing into and I think you've given at least me a lot of stuff to think about in terms of actually applying it, not having to call up every hypnotist in every city that but actually thinking about it and applying it, even small steps right now, myself and my athletes. So I thank you for that. It's really, really cool to hear from you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I also have a free book that you can get from my website. You know how when you go to a website and you try to leave a pop-up.
Well, I saw it actually. So yeah, I checked it out.
Well, that has an entire script, like a sample script where you could create your own hypnosis recording.
That's awesome. Okay, so for everyone listening, make sure you go check that out. We're going to put all the descriptions and everything in so people will easily find you. And I just want to say thank you for jumping on this call and just kind of giving us a little insider perspective on the whole hypnosis stuff in athletics.
Hey man, thanks for having me. I also wanted to let you know I created a special coupon code for your listeners. So if anybody wants to get anything off of the website, this coupon will give them 20% off. Plus, they'll also get a free copy of the trampoline balance hypnosis that I made for our mutual friend.
That's amazing, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I know our people are going to love it.
Yeah, it's cool. So if anything they buy when they check out, just type in JUMP, like trampoline, JUMP, all caps, 2020.
Awesome. JUMP 2020 it is. All right, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed and learned a few things. There's a big world out there worth exploring, and I'm happy to be able to bring these great experiences right to you through this podcast. If you enjoy this podcast and learned something, please share and take a screen grab of our funky cartoons and hashtag GRT certified for a chance to win a shout out to our community. Also, please leave us a review to be part of helping this information get out into the industry. It's much appreciated. Along with these podcasts, we have a large online content hub that we call the GRT Network, with many other interviews and full tutorials and written content discussing everything about acrobatics. We will be constantly growing this archive of videos like a cross between Netflix and Wikipedia for anyone in the acrobatic industry. We also have a complete online educational program for athletes of all levels that provides a do-it-yourself pathway to success for any acrobat. Check out our constantly growing library of playlists that will teach you anything from tightening up your social media, to how to get around fear, to even learning all the biology that underlies all your acrobatic skills. We work very hard with our team around the world to provide this exclusive content for you and appreciate any donations made to the FTA to help keep these episodes coming at you. And if you want all the content, become a GRT Network full member to get exclusive content before everyone else and access to special discounts and giveaways through our amazing global partners. Thanks guys, see you next episode.